We are already seeing infighting within MAGA as people are competing for leadership positions, wondering if this is just going to implode from within at some point. The account run by the group Anonymous, I think, puts it aptly. They write, "Organize and mobilize, create plans. MAGA psychology shows that there will be massive infighting. There will be leaks from the inside of Trump's cabinet. He will turn on his top people, fire them, rinse and repeat. Eventually, it will all implode on them. Be prepared." And we're seeing this play out right now. In one instance, it was who's going to be the leader in the Senate, where a race has emerged for Senate leadership between MAGA Republican Rick Scott in Florida, who led one of the largest Medicare fraud scams when he was in the private sector and invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination hundreds of times and then reached a settlement to the tune of close to $1 billion. So he's running against John Cornyn from Texas, more of a traditional Republican, I guess, who more of the old school Republicans in the Senate would prefer Cornyn. And I'm not saying that by any means Cornyn's like a moderate, but certainly more moderate than, say, Rick Scott. So lots of people right now are out there attacking Cornyn for Rick Scott. And also you have people like Republican Senator Thune telling Donald Trump, stay away from this fight. Do not pick anybody who should be the leader right here. So we're already seeing the kind of conflicts develop here. Let's talk about that. There's lots of other conflicts developing as well that we'll cover. This is happening already, like within 48, 72 hours. So Senator Josh Hawley, who won his race in Missouri, he became one of the first people to publicly endorse Cornyn, and the fourth senator to endorse publicly. He writes, "I'm backing John Cornyn for majority leader. In the last 2 years, nobody has done more to win back the majority than he has. He's raised a lot of money." I don't need to read much more of Hawley's statement than that. And then in response, we've seen, people like Laura Loomer post the following. Senator Josh Hawley is supporting Trump hater John Cornyn in the race for Senate GOP leadership. Cornyn's top strategist called Donald Trump a psychopath, and Cornyn said Trump can't win in 2024. The only MAGA choice for Senate GOP leader is Rick Scott. DC Drano, which is one of the big right-wing social media accounts, goes, "Josh Hawley just took off his mask here. Unforgivable. I was literally discussing Hawley as a contender in 2028 for president. No more if he'll endorse Rhino Cornyn, who just spearheaded the biggest gun control bill in decades, then you are a rhino." As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski writes, Republicans are now on step 4. Criticizing is easy. Blaming others is easy. Making promises is easy. Getting things done that produce positive results for people are hard. All we've heard from MAGA is blame, 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 and then make ridiculous promises that they cannot actually meet, whereas President Biden passed actual legislation that helped people. Unfortunately, I'll do a whole other video on this. We're seeing lots of people right now who are Googling, can I take my vote back? And other people Googling, like, what are tariffs? Perhaps that research should have been done before the election. And people also now finding out that indeed Donald Trump and his administration is going to deport your family. People go, it's not going to be me because I'm not a criminal. No, if there are people who are considered, here as a result of people who didn't have their paperwork, and of course people who don't have their paperwork, as MAGA Republicans refer to them as anchor babies, they'll be deported. There's a whole denaturalization plan that they have, and they're coming for you. They're coming for you. So I'm not sure why you thought that you were immune from all of that. Here is Senator Thune, by the way, a Republican, saying that Donald Trump should stay out of anything relating to the leadership fight in the Senate that's taking place right now. Here, play this clip.
Is President-elect Trump involved in, does he have a chosen preference in the Senate? Do you know, Senator? And will that come into play?
I don't. Well, I don't know that he does. I'm staying in regular contact with him and with his team. And, you know, obviously, if he wants to, he could exert a considerable amount of influence on that. But honestly, I think my preference would be, and I think it's probably in his best interest, to stay out of that. These Senate secret ballot elections are probably best left to senators, and he's got to work with all of us when it's all said and done. But whatever he decides to do, that's going to be his prerogative, as we know. And but I think we're going to have that election next Wednesday, and we'll have a new leader.
One of the things we're also seeing as well is fights breaking out between Fox and like MAGA Mike Johnson. So MAGA Mike Johnson, who has been promising, you know, the mass deportations and not comprehensive immigration. I mean, what they said was they were going to overhaul the entire system, shut down all of the borders, which would wreck the economy. That's what they were promising, right? Remember, Democrats worked out a bipartisan bill with the Republican from Oklahoma, Senator James Lankford, which was a comprehensive bill. It addressed the economic interests that we're trade partners with Mexico, so you can't just shut it down unless you're going to try to crash the American economy, but was also very tough on the border, adding border security. But Donald Trump told MAGA to kill the bill. As our editor, Ron Filipkowski, says, it's easy to criticize. You want to kill bills. It's easy to do that, but actually producing results is hard. So MAGA Mike starts talking about comprehensive immigration reform on Fox, what's that code word for? It's code word for bring back the bipartisan bill that we killed, the James Lankford bill. What Fox is saying, though, is that would be a betrayal to all of us because you all said that you were going to be doing the bloody deportations and you're going to be doing shutting down the border entirely. So aren't you going to do that? Watch this interaction between Ingraham and MAGA Mike Johnson as she calls him out. It's a pretty telling moment right here. Here, play this clip.
We don't pay much attention to what Nancy Pelosi says anymore. She's not in power, and she won't be for a long time now. I think we've got a mandate from the American people. I was delighted to be with President Trump and the whole team in Palm Beach last night. It was such a great celebration into the wee hours of the morning. People are excited. We're exhausted from the campaign, but we are exhilarated about the days ahead. The majority of the people in this country want to restore common sense. They want secure borders. They want a robust energy policy. They want a free market that thrives and creates more jobs and better economic opportunity for more people.
Speaker,
we can deliver all that. We know how to do it.
But the President-elect Trump, that's the first time I've said that, I realize. President-elect Trump can do a lot just by executive order, but I do understand from my sources that they want laws passed. They don't want an executive order that can just be thrown away, in 4 years or 8 years. They want permanent change. Can't ask for asylum inside the country. Can't play the game where you come here and say, oh, I'm oppressed, and you get to stay. He's even talked about the birthright citizenship issue, which obviously is more problematic because of the Constitution. That would require more thinking and study, but he doesn't want to just do the executive orders. Is that what your understanding is as well?
Yes, and our agenda is to enact this into law. We need real comprehensive immigration reform. We've needed it for a long time.
That sounds like amnesty.
Commander-in-chief.
That sounds like amnesty. Every time I've heard a Republican say that, it's like earn path to citizenship, and then we have 20 million, people who, get their citizenship overnight. Every time I hear that, it drives me crazy. Laura, but you can explain.
No, we're talking about. No, we want to do the opposite of amnesty. If you do an amnesty program, you invite more people to violate the law. That's exactly the opposite of what we need to do. We got to begin on day one with securing the border. President Trump will issue an executive order. He has that authority under existing statutory law. But we've got to come right behind him with a robust legislative agenda. We have got to do this for the American people. Secure the border, and then turn to the catastrophe that's been created by the border being opened. It is complex, as you know. It is comprehensive.
Deportation.
We're going to be dealing with it for decades, but we're ready to go.
Does that include deportation? Because
absolutely.
He won on that issue. That was a big part of this mandate. People have to leave, and they can. If they leave, they can reapply. Maybe later on.
Yes, every House Republican ran on that issue all around the country. It's so important because we know we have dangerous criminals, for example. We got probably 4.5 million of those.
No, it's a nightmare.
That we can go to immediately and send them back where they came from. We're going to do all that.
Yes or no? Are you going to grow your majority, which is already razor?
And you think about the promises that are being made by these MAGAs, like here, MAGA Republican Representative Ben Klein talking about cutting $2 trillion out of the budget, which is one of the things that we were warning. That's also code for, you can't cut $2 trillion out of the budget without slashing people's Medicare and Social Security. So how are you going to cut $2 trillion and not take away people's Medicare, Social Security, and other things that they've paid into? But here's Ben Klein saying that. Play this clip.
Is that doable to cut $2 trillion out of the budget?
It absolutely is. I'm a member of the Republican Study Committee, which is the policy arm of the Republican Conference, and we've come up with a balanced budget in 7 years. The Budget Committee's put one out that balances in 10 years. We can do it and make sure that we focus funding toward the American people and not toward bureaucracies in Washington.
And then similarly, you have Senator-elect Jim Banks on CNN, and he's asked on CNN, you realize, though, that if you start deporting 15 million, 20 million people, you're going to crash businesses here because these migrants work at these businesses and have jobs that Americans don't want to work at. So are you really going to do that? And watch what Senator-elect Jim Banks says.
Who will say, we need these people. They are workers that really fuel our businesses. And then aside from business, just even taking agriculture as an example, I want to read a quote from Michael Marsh, President and CEO of the National Council of Agriculture Employees. He says, from an employer standpoint, you're very concerned when you hear somebody talk about deporting a significant amount of the existing workforce. What do you say to him and others who really do rely, even hospitality, who rely on these undocumented migrants?
A mandate is a mandate, and the president winning the popular vote on Tuesday is a strong signal that this is what the American people, the public, expects us to do. And only Republicans who completely misread the moment, who don't understand what the mandate means, and I don't think there are very many of them left in Congress.
So the thing for you to look for right now is ultimately, is someone going to moderate and within Trump administration, or are they going to do that? And is there infighting that's going to break out? I suspect there will be a lot of infighting over that because, again, if you shut down the border and you deport 15, 20 million people, who's going to do the labor? And then if you're going to get Americans to do the labor, guess what's going to happen to the prices? Inflation. You're going to put 2,000% tariffs. Guess what's going to happen to the prices? They're going to go up. And when our inflation's trending, you close the entire border. What do you think is going to happen? How are the goods with our biggest trading partner, Mexico? How are the goods going to come in? I mean, you just shut it down. How are the goods going to come in? What's that going to do? Increase the prices and tank the economy. So how are you going to make good on any of these promises? I think we're going to see a lot of infighting, and that's what we can do here, as part of fighting back, means calling these things out and letting people know in your life so that they see what's happening. I'll leave you with this one other kind of infighting that's taking place. So James O'Keefe, who was the founder of the group Project Veritas that you may have heard of, they were that right-wing group that would do lots of undercover video and audio. He's going after Project Veritas, which he founded, and said, because Project Veritas sued him. He goes, you're still suing me when I raised millions of dollars for this organization, and now you're attacking me, and you're advertising your victories in court as though they weren't mine. So they're attacking each other as well. We're going to see a lot more of that as, is RFK going to get a cabinet position? Is he going to get pushed aside after selling his soul to the devil? I mean, what's going to happen to, is Kash Patel going to get a position at the CIA when I think there will be universal outlash to that? Will there be, voices in the Senate who will push back against it? Not the MAGA voices, but others. These are the types of things we need to, talk about in kind of a very sober and honest way and point them out. That's what we'll do here. So hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers together. And thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.